Hi, I'm Reg Athwal and welcome to the Family Business Q&A show where we get a chance to answer your questions. I reached out to many people on social media recently and to our client base and our database, asking them if they could send us questions they would like us to answer on this new show. So I'll make sure on a weekly basis I create these small clips for you, giving you a chance to get some insights and get some of your questions answered. The one we're going to kick off with on this show that's come up with from quite a few people is, what is a family charter? Now, some people around the world call this a family constitution. It's the same thing, different terminology, different interpretation. Same way you may have a constitution for a country, a scaled down version would be a charter. It's a roadmap. It gives direction to a family. So let's talk a bit about some of the components of what we call a family charter. How could you put one together? And some of the things that you need to consider. Well, the first thing is, where do you start? And more importantly, what are the benefits of having a charter? How many of you watching this have young children, maybe under the age of 7? We get this a lot with a lot of clients that we worked with around the world, which is, well, when's the right time to have a family charter? Some say, well, when my kids are 21, 22, 25, that's probably the right time to have a charter. So we can give them clarity then. No, we disagree. We have enough case studies from around the world that show us that if you can get children involved in a conversation to build a family charter, and I'll share with you in a few minutes what some of the components are, steps are. If you can get them involved, you'll have full buy-in and they absolutely understand it and are living it by the time they're 21, 22, 25 years of age. Why wait? For those of you who already have next-gen members at that age, start immediately, don't wait. And for those of you already having a bit of conflict or issues, then this is critical. There needs to be clarity for everybody on where you are today and where you want to be and what are those guidelines. So there's a lot of benefits in getting consensus from the family of where we are today, where we want to be, and getting things on paper, getting them in writing, getting people to sign off. This is almost like an operating system. So let's share with you a few things to consider. Number one, when you're putting a family charter together, I would really encourage you to have fun with this. Get the whole family around a table, maybe have a discussion over lunch or dinner, and capture as many things as you can linked to the family history. From those branches going up, whether it's a previous generation or 2 or 3 or 4 generations prior to that. What are the names? Who were the grandparents? Where did they grow up? What are some of the stories that are being shared in the family, what used to happen? Social gatherings, events, rituals, insights into what a grandfather used to do when he was building his first company maybe. How did the grandmother help the family when it came to support, and vice versa? So there could be some stories there. I remember with my grandfather, I absolutely remember being perched up on his shoulders, and he was in Punjab. I could smell his turban at the time. I could still smell it now, exactly what that smell was when I was perched on his shoulders and he was walking around acres and acres of land. He became a serial entrepreneur in the agricultural industry. And he was saying, one day you'll be looking after this. That still stays with me today. I remember being in a car and he would stop, and in a small village, he would pull out as much cash as he could. He would make sure as many people would come to the car and he would give them money and small bags of food and sweets. That's still with me today. And that's had an impact on how I see things and how to give back and be generous. Capture these stories from your family. So number one, I could carry on for hours talking about this, but capture as many things as you can, bullet point them, come up with some sort of story and develop your family history. Next, links in with this very simple is get a family tree drawn up. There's different software available online that you could use. You could use normal PowerPoint, draw an organizational structure, play around with the different charts and themes to come up with something. Or if you've got an illustrator in the family or a designer, or go online and find someone, you could create a really nice family tree. Make sure you've got as many generations as you can in there, put their date of births in there as well, and this is a great visual representation of what your family tree looks like and linked to the history that I've already gone through. 3, big topic, big area, subcomponent of the family chart is what we call family values. And over the last 17 years, we worked with over 100 families putting their constitution and charter together through my main company, RTS Global Partners. And when we do this exercise, we go through over 350 values with the family to eventually funnel down to the top 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 values that every member of the family agrees on. So for example, if I use the word integrity, what does that mean to you? If I speak to 3 people in your family, they may give me a different version of what integrity means to them. What about trust? What about respect? What about love? What about appreciation? These are many different words that pop up when we're working with families, but everyone in the family has a different interpretation. So the objective here, when you're putting your family values together, is consider what does everybody agree on, number one, maybe some headings, some key words. What is the interpretation of that, how it should show up on a day-to-day basis as a behavior? Because ideally you want to measure this. If I give someone a hug, that could be one version of a showing appreciation or love. Well, if I don't do that for a month, that's measurable. I'm not behaving in that way that expresses that value. It could be as simple as listening to a senior member, asking them how they are. Maybe it's about caring for someone. So if you need more information on this, reach out to us. We do facilitate sessions for families when it comes to developing the family values. So this is an area to get down. We talked a bit about history, talked about the family tree. We've talked a bit about family values. Other areas to consider are other guidelines or rituals. What are the guidelines that you want to consider that are important for the family? And I always like to talk about rituals. It's interesting that 3% of family businesses last to the 4th generation around the world. But if you look at the Asian continent and you look at family businesses around Middle East and South Asia, 4% last to the 4th generation. That's a 1% difference. That's huge. Why? Well, I put it down to rituals. Some may refer to it as religious beliefs. Some people think of it as spirituality. I'm not hanging on to any of these words, but all of them are important. If you're a religious family, maybe there's components there that need to link into rituals, which the next generation will get used to and become part of their DNA. Maybe it's just basic spiritual beliefs that you have. Maybe it's got nothing to do with religion. It's just rituals of family always having lunch together on a Friday or a Saturday, having dinner every Saturday evening, or if people live in different parts of the world, we're always going to meet up at least twice a year or 3 times a year for this many days, and these are some of the activities and things we're going to do. It's basics. What are the rituals that you have in your family today that you love? It works for you. How could you capture that into your charter so future generations can adopt it and it becomes part of them and it continues? Next one is vision, or some people may refer to as mission or purpose. Where does your family want to be in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years? Some Chinese families focus on 100 years in terms of vision. But hey, at least start off with 5 years and build up. What is your family vision? What's important to your family for the future? Whether it comes to security, welfare, whether it comes to wealth, whether it comes to giving back to the world. On a business level, what's your business vision for what you're currently doing today? Is it to build companies and sell them and create wealth that way? Is it to be number one in your family business sector because you've inherited this business and this industry and you're all passionate about that manufacturing business or the automobile business or hospitality business or internet related business? Whatever it is, maybe you've got some goals and objectives you'd like to achieve there on the business side. So these are things that link to vision at a family level as well as a business level, and also around wealth. We've worked with many families where it requires maybe 2 or 3 sessions to facilitate these conversations. If you need to reach out to us, happy to give you some free tools, even send you some of our questions that we use so you could start this process of getting alignment, getting clarity on where are you all going. Other things to consider is what we call code of conduct, basic do's and don'ts, whether it's having meetings as a family, being on time, is that important to you? That could be a basic code of conduct for meetings. Should mobile phones be allowed in the meeting? We've worked with families where there's a bowl, before anybody sits down, all the mobile phones go in the bowl. And if somebody's phone is in their back pocket or they've got a second phone and it rings, there's a fine. It goes into a pot. That money is used for other things for the family or given to charity. You could have fun with this as well. So what are your basic code of conduct areas that you'd like to capture in your family charter? do's and don'ts, things that are really important. There's no compromise on this. This is part of your DNA. It's part of what we call your operating system. Your operating system for your family may be different to someone else's operating system. It's something that you will agree on and that you want to adopt now and for the future. So outside of code of conduct, another thing that comes up, which is a big area of the family charter, is policy formation. In the last 17 years, having worked on over hundreds of family constitution and charters with clients, not only personally, but also with my partners in the firm, the policy area is the bit that takes time. We've discovered over 17 years that there's 150 different policies that families can choose from to create their clarity, to create their DNA, to create their roadmap. So for example, under policies, there could be healthcare policy for your family, education policy, housing policy. Maybe you're a family that has a guest house in another part of the world and members want to use it. Well, what's the policy around that? When someone's joining the business, what are the policies around how they join? What's the process? How do they progress to becoming a director and a board director? Do they get shares? How will that work in the future? I'm just giving you a few, by the way. There's 150 different headings to consider. Again, reach out to us if you're looking to put this together in the future. But if you want to keep it simple, just think about the basic things right now from a welfare management point of view, or questions that the next generation have. Answer those questions and now come up with some basic policies that you can agree on. And last but not least, if you get all of these things right, you've built yourself a roadmap that could last you for many generations. How frequently should you update this? Well, once you've got this in place, I would say every 10 years you should be reviewing this, because as future generations come along, they may have a different perspective on things. They may have a different view. Things do change. But do your best not to open up the family constitution every year. Once you've locked it in, sign off. The main work starts now, which is to make sure it comes to life. And as new things happen, update it every 10 years. So hopefully that answers your question, what is a family charter? Those are some of the things to consider. There's a huge benefit in doing this if you want to be in the 3% club of family businesses that go beyond 4 generations and build a 100-year legacy. This is the bedrock. This is what gives clarity to every person in the family. Reach out to me, leave some comments below, tell me what you think of the video, let me know what other questions you have. This is my email address as well, so you can reach me, and let me know what other questions you would like me to answer in the future on Family Business Q&A. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to all our other shows and episodes. Thank you.